for my channel, and it's not going to be like his. It's going to be more serious on the shooting deaths in Tucson. So,
I thought we already did that.
Well, the repercussions will be going on and on and on. So, I'm just going to.
Well, can I just sit here and not say anything?
While I'm doing that one? Okay, well, up to now was his video, to go on his. Now, I want, okay, should I just segue into mine? Is that what you're saying?
Well, if you're going to do it, I'm going to turn this thing off, right?
No. Okay, turn it off. And no, because we've got it, the camera's behaving well now, so
I'm just going to flip it up and flip it and flip it on.
It might not come back on. Look how clear it is. So, I can edit it.
Oh.
Okay. So.
Then I'll bring out my different colored sheets, the gold sheets and the black.
No, we're through with sheets. All right.
That's a lot of sheets. That's all I gotta say.
Well, okay. If you want to sit here and comment, I don't mind him commenting because I figure, you know, he's America commenting. He's the man on the street. He's whoever that might take exception to what I say.
I was homeless for a little while because I was writing a book.
Yeah, right. Well, he's an alcoholic, you know. You want to get the opinions of the dysfunctional. What I wanted to talk about today for my channel is, well, I've been reading all about the shooter and his mental condition, and all kinds of columnists are writing about what they think. Today, Charles Krauthammer, I think is how, Krauthammer. And he writes for the Washington Post, and he's going on saying, well, there's no evidence pointing that this fellow was influenced by anything. He was a dangerous, paranoid schizophrenic. I'm telling you, I live in a complex where there are a lot of chronically mentally ill who are deemed stable enough to have apartments. And God help us if they couldn't be reasoned with, or they didn't respond to how people treat them. Well, because that's what we got to depend on in order to interact with them. And, you know, so there's no such thing as some dangerous, chronically mentally ill people running around that don't live somewhere and that people don't have to interact with them. So, I'm drawing on these years that I spent in here, and just gradually had more and more mental patients coming in here. And then I've also, well, I was certified mentally ill. I couldn't get a certification for disability for chronic fatigue, which is really what, chronic fatigue is a very difficult thing to diagnose, and I just couldn't get a diagnosis from it when I was disabled. So
how old were you then?
54. I'd had a very bad case of it, and the doctors were all, you know, just in conflict about what it was or whether I even had anything. In fact, some of them accused me of wanting to be sick, and it was all in my head and all sorts of things. So they sent me to a psychiatrist, and I told him the whole story. Well, I didn't even talk about the chronic fatigue because I knew that was useless. And I'd had a lot of stress in my life, so he diagnosed me as, you know, mentally ill, not disabled, not able to work. So
notice anything different about me?
Yes. His mind kind of wanders, so excuse me when he comes in. But anyway, you know, so
I wanted white sheets.
Years and years, and I've had mentally ill people in the family.
White sheets. It's all
were incarcerated, and in fact, I had an uncle who spent the last 10 years of his life in a state mental institution. And I married a man who's had several members of his family, and one of them was still in a mental institution and got out. So I've been thinking about these things and observing mental illness, and especially since it was ascribed to me, because I was incarcerated twice in a psych wards when I was in my early well, I was 20 years old. And this kind of put the label on me, you know. From then on, I kind of had to defend myself. Well, what was I? And I think anybody who's a complex, sort of a complex personality runs a risk of maybe perhaps, get away, perhaps
I was just
don't
checking.
be too disruptive. So anyway,
Whee!
but what I've said about this young man in Tucson is we've got to look at our society, what we're doing that could be sending messages to him that are confused, contradictory. And I've said that legalized abortion, I've been a protester for many years, and the reason why I protested is because it is a violent solution. It introduces the violence, and women are responsible for it. Women who traditionally been the ones who were supposed to guide their children from birth and help them to learn what was right and what was wrong. Well, when you have to defend something like legalized abortion, and that occurs in the family, and the children grow up becoming aware, like I was aware at 6 years old that my mother had an abortion. It bothered her, and she talked about it, and I'd hear, I was a smart child, and I would hear her talking about it. So I started thinking about abortion when I was just 6 years old. And she, you know, so I think, oh my goodness, well, and then I was scared to death she was going to abort, and this was before it was legal, so I was scared to death she was going to kill herself doing this.
Does this explain the black sheep?
Yeah, and so, anyway, I'm saying that when you legalize something like this, and then a lot of deaths occur because of it, like 1 million deaths in this country a year, which those who defend it seem to think is acceptable. 1 million deaths. A third of all children conceived, aborted. Well, this went from back supposed illegal abortions, or abortions in most of the states for only just a very few reasons that a legal abortion would be granted, that you could get it. And then, so now it's like women are getting it for birth control, for, you know, having messed up their, you know, just not got pregnant and are aborting the child because, you know, because they didn't tend to their birth control.
Yeah, you're doing the same thing over
And
and over.
this is why statistics point to at least 90 to 95% of abortions performed for those kind of reasons. Not for what they used, you know, not for the reasons that there used to be for incest, rape, or very severe defects that were detected before the child was born. So
You know,
anyway,
1 out of every 3 families is a single parent family.
yes. But anyway, I was reading some of the information that's now coming to light about this young man, and in February of last year, there's a record that he
That give you
was
a clue
talking
about life.
about babies being killed, abortion, and was saying that maybe we should start strapping bombs to little children and in wars. I mean, what was the difference? And so obviously this young man was...
Where did you read that?
I was here in the paper today. You can read it. Was having some troubled thoughts about abortion. And this is the very thing that we have to worry about, that this is what can affect the children when you have a violent solution. And this is something that a lot of women who believe in what they call reproductive rights, which is really legalized abortion, in a euphemism for it that's used, it would be less offensive, I suppose. And so, anyway, what we have, or, you know, we're not actually talking about the fact that maybe such a huge change in our society, the allowing of that many abortions, is affecting our children's thinking. And when people are unstable, when there's reason that they are unstable, grabbing hold and trying to think about such things, and when they've got people around them denying, absolutely denying that there's any problem with it, that to me is when you're creating an atmosphere where mental illness can take hold and there's not enough rationality to combat it, because it's not rational to deny the destructiveness of a solution. This is one reason why people protest legalized abortion, why they say that, like I say as a pro-life activist, that any solution is better than death to the fetus, because it sends, for that reason, it is killing and it's violent. And how can we teach our children not to kill, not even to think of such a thing? How can we teach them peace-loving non-violence when we are supporting and advocating a violent solution? And we're determined we are not going to listen. We can't. We're going to not question. So I would say that, again, already, a few days after, there is evidence that this young man had in his head a disturbed feeling about abortion. So I just wanted to bring that up and throw it out there and say, just think about it. Think about it, because it's one of the things I think we have to think about when we're trying to deal with violence. We have to think about all violence and what the message of violence sends. And if we deny, we send out denial that something is violent when it is violent, then what are we doing? What are we doing? We're not able to reason well, consistently. Oh, he wants to show the sheets.